Hi Members Monday, this is Jasmine, and I am working on Members Monday homework 36. Maybe you guys can let me know what's going on over here. I have a circular I'd like to get rid of. It's not impacting anything though. So this is what I've created. This is the way I'm visualizing how it will work. Please don't mind the formatting over here. I will show you in a second how it's supposed to work when I'm not stress testing it. These are stress tests. This is a dynamic chart, and over here is where I have the labels that the user is supposed to enter. So the user should know this is where they're entering the labels if they need to make adjustments, and the chart will adjust. And here's how it works. The user clicks, or at least how I'm thinking it's going to work. The user will click Start Timer. I took this concept here where when you're going to click again, you're actually stopping the time, and the button is reflecting it from, ironically enough, Andrew Button, one of our Members Monday, suggested it in his homework as an idea, and his last name is Button, and he's the one that taught me how to do this, and I thought it was a very good idea. So you can see how this adjusts depending if you're on the next step of stopping the button or starting something. In this case, you're stopping or starting timing a job. And the way I've created it as well is zoom out, is over here. I don't have any formulas right now. And the reason I did that is because I didn't want to have these formulas if there's nothing here, still keep the formula. Like for instance, let me delete this. And again, this pop-up, please pay it no mind. You need to figure out how to remove it. It's coming from the frequency formula, and I'll get into that in a bit. But here you see how the formula still stands. I've implemented minutes. I need to implement hours in this formula too. But right now my assumption is we're just dealing in seconds and minutes. And within a 24-hour period, I do a copy and paste of the formulas. If I can get your attention down here at row 23, I paste the formulas once I have two instances over here. And if you look to the right, this map, this graph is dynamic. So you see every time I click stop, the formula populates. Stop, the formula populates, and this is dynamic and it's changing. Click this again, click this again. If I click too quickly and I'm within a second, then it's an outlier because I haven't figured out how to capture in milliseconds. Maybe somebody else from Members Monday figured it out. That's an entire research area of its own. And what I do is I make the assumption if it's an outlier, or if it's even something like, let's say this will go into 6. Pay this no mind, please. So I'm just assuming that I'm working with seconds and minutes here per job. I'm going to give this a 0. So I am capturing the number of seconds that are less than an hour's time. And the way it pops up is, in this instance, I'm just assuming that it will go in a higher bucket. And now what I'll do is generate the graph, and you see down here, they just popped up. The reason it wasn't popping up earlier is because I didn't reset this frequency over here. I want to get into script a little bit. Actually, before I get into script, the way I check my data is entries here under O2 and entries here under E3. So this is just summing up column B, starting times, and this is summing up my frequency. So let's say I just stop off at start time and I haven't clicked stop yet. You can see the number of entries is 23. Meanwhile, my frequencies is 22, which means I need to stop the timer so that I can have my frequencies aligned. I'm using dynamic ranges, and I'll show you what I mean by that. I'm sure you guys already know. And here I will just generate the graph again. I know this is correct because I have 12 plus 4, 16, plus 4, 20, 23 entries, 23 entries or frequencies or instances or observations. And this is how the script looks. I'll clean this up as well before submitting it for a review. Maybe you guys, here, let me zoom in. Maybe you guys can help me out. Here, what I'm trying to do is do background fill, interior color fill for the buttons because they're gray and black, and I want some color, and I can't figure out how to do it. This is from Members Monday 35, the way I approached our section there for start and stop time. This concept here, start, stop, and toggle, I took from Andrew Button's homework. He was using Boolean. And I like the idea where he implemented changing the text of the button. You notice here how text, once you're running scripting here, says stop. So I stole that idea and I implemented it here. Mine is not as clean, especially since I'm still stress testing the formatting on the button, but you can see once I'm in this part of the runtime, I basically, this is how you're changing the button text. To stop timer, if you're troubleshooting my script and you need to know where you are, this is how I'm doing it. Here, start timer. Again over here, stop timer. This is to clear the data. I am also using some borders here, border edge, true, etc. And I just want to draw your attention to frequency. I'm using dynamic ranges here, seconds and bins, and you won't be able to see this under the drop down. What I mean by that, so these are dynamic ranges that you have to set up in Excel. I have not defined seconds or bins, and this is my script here for reset, just to give you an idea what I mean by dynamic. You notice under the drop down here, I don't have seconds or bins, but under formulas and name manager, I have bins, I have category labels, and I have seconds. Do you see seconds in these little windows? Category labels, the value are the squiggly brackets, squiggle brackets or bending brackets, and 3 dots. This shows that these are dynamic ranges. And what I mean by a dynamic range is something that implements the offset. I don't know if you guys can see it, but I'm basically taking everything in column M and I'm doing a count down that column and just one column. Basically what this is the anchor. You offset from the anchor, you just end up on one cell. So in this case, I'm just on cell M6, and on M6 and down, one column. I could do M6 down in two columns, which would be M and O. That would be an entire range as well. It would be M and O, and I'd be doing a count for all of them. Actually, the offset function it doesn't come intuitively, but the more you play with it and see that this part is basically the cell. Let's see if I can. This part here is the cell, your anchor cell, and this part here is like the resize or the area around it. So anyway, when you go under Name Manager and you see things like this, these curly brackets, these are called dynamic ranges, and I'm using them so that I can make my graph dynamic. And also something else that I implemented is, let's say I go 90 here at the bottom to 95 seconds. This is how I visualize the user changing it. And then I'm going to go 95 plus. And here I'll add 1,000 just because, or what is this? 100,000, just because frequency, the way the formula frequency works, this guy here, and also another way to look at it without these dynamic ranges is this way. Frequency, which you get to with Control-Shift-Enter. Frequency works off of this being the number and less than. So you're at or less than, at or less than. So once you get to 95 or less than, anything 95.00, anything over 95 is literally here, this 95. So in this case, this 90 is 90 and something over it. Otherwise, if it's 90 directly, it's going in this bucket. So be careful at the bottom that you're capturing some max number that will capture all maximum outliers. And then watch down here how I have 90 to 95. What I'm going to do is, if this works, click Reset Labels. Oh, it didn't work. Well, the idea was Reset Labels would get down here to 90 to 95. The graph would be generated. And so then the idea is, let me get out of the script. Okay. You notice how this range only goes up to 90 to 95? You should see this over here change. Let me zoom in now that I'm out of script. Reset labels, you see how this changed over here? And this is the concept. One more thing that I struggled with that I just want to show you is, let me go all the way down here and zoom in. This section for the chart and the ranges. I needed to call the ranges strings. You see up here? These guys needed to be strings, and I needed to concatenate these because it's basically a series, and the way it looks is, let me type this in here at the bottom. It's looking for something like O2 through O10, comma, M2 through M10. 10. And because other approaches, you're getting things like O2, O10, you notice this. If you're trying to make it dynamic, this will just give you a problem. So anyway, it ate up a lot of my time, and I wanted to show you this one section, and maybe it will help you out. And here I have to concatenate two different ranges, and that's what I'm using for my chart. I hope you guys get a chance, and not just guys, although it's kind of just guys and Members Monday, but I hope you get a chance to look at this and maybe give me some feedback. Oh, one last thing I'd like to show off about, you know, let's say you're testing it, you're clicking start timer up here, and you click clear. Oh, let me get rid of this again. Let's say you're testing it, testing. Okay. By the way, when you're testing too quickly and within a second, it will just be an outlier. So testing, and you click clear data accidentally. You want to clear the contents, you can click cancel, or you can clear OK, and everything resets itself. Anyway, let me see what this is. So this is popping up as a reference. Doesn't look too good for the user, but as soon as I give you a couple of ranges, the reference disappears, and you see the entire concept number of entries here should match number of entries here. If you guys can help me out with the circular referencing where it looks cleaner, and whatever other feedback you have to give me, I totally appreciate it. And I hope you guys get something out of the work. Okay, thanks. Talk to you soon.